use in the whole BRIM training curriculum. And we then have a view on the BRIM solution landscape. And I show you the BRIM process overview. To make an example that we go deeper according to some functional details in the trainings, I have selected the convergent invoicing features to show you what is possible in the training, and we have a short view on the high-level data model. So that's the overview of the training. You see it's at the moment collection 16. With the SAP BRIM, BRIM stands for Billing and Revenue Innovation Management. For those who are totally new, we cover a lot of processes. First of all, we are able with BRIM to analyze and realize the business model design and have pricing configurations in BRIM. We have one part that is a subscription order management. We are able to handle usage metering and transactions, also in high volume scales. We are able to do billing, receivable, and collections. And what is also important and often used is the partner revenue sharing. This is possible with BRIM, and we will have a look a bit more on the key capabilities now. With BRIM, we are able to cover the whole process from the product sales to the selling of services and outcomes based on subscriptions and real-time usage-based services. You see, with our BRIM solution, we have a focus on subscription and consumption. We don't have a focus on inventory products here. The inventory products are still covered by the sales and distribution process because we have there an integration to the material management. The focus on BRIM is definitely on subscription and consumptions. But we have a lot of industries that have a focus on subscription and consumptions at the moment because the business models change more to subscriptions than to the sales of products. For example, take the car sharing concept. Before it was more often that you have bought a car. Nowadays, there are a lot of subscription models possible to just rent a car. And for those business approaches, you need a solution. We support here different industry approaches. We have a B2B approach, we have a B2C approach, and a B2B2C approach. Because the difference is if you have B2B, you have a high volume, but you don't have a lot of business partners on place. But with a B2B approach, you have a more complex design of processes, for example, like discount processes or master agreements. With BRIM, we are able to handle very complex processes in the B2B markets. And we are also able to handle the very high volume with the B2C markets, where you have, for example, in telecommunications, more than 100 million subscribers, for example. On the other side, we are also handle prepaid or postpaid strategies in our processes, and we also have a high automation for invoicing and accounting. We use here the function of the FICA mass processes. What is important if you have a shared economy, we also support multi-sided revenue models where we have different partners in place, and with the BRIM solution we are able to control customer payment processes and partner processes as well, and we are able to have a dependence between both. So, which means if the customer does not pay, we are also able to get the money back from the partner if this is necessary according to the agreements. With a BRIM solution, our customers are able to scale to volumes because digital business, for example, the cloud business, has a very high volume in place, and we are able to scale here our architectures to volumes. So we are able to scale with the BRIM processes as well to complexity as to volume, and this is a very big example, big advantage for the BRIM solution. I have here a use case in the training. We have, for example, the postal industry, which uses BRIM since a long time. We have, for example, a parcel company in North America, and the customers are B2B customers. They have their own shops to handle the parcel industries, and we have customer hierarchies as well in place. For example, we have an online shop in New York, a fresh fruit New York shop, a postal shop, and so on. That means we need master agreements for different customer groups, and they are realized in the BRIM solution. As well, in the parcel industry, we have high complexities because we have configurable price models with a lot of characteristics. For example, we have a surcharge for CO2, we have insurance, we have different destinations in place. That means we need a lot of industry-specific characteristics in the price model. As well, we have fees depending on delivery zones. We have dimensions of goods like weight, length, and so on. We have different channels, road, air freight, and we have different service levels. So this means that this use case has a lot of complexity according to industry-specific configurations. This is very easy possible with a BRIM solution. We are able to add customer fields. We are able to model the price models as it's necessary for the customer, and we are able to scale to volume here. So that is a very good example for the BRIM solutions, but you will see we have some more industry examples. Another industry example is, for example, the railway industry. We assume that Railway X is operating a large railway net in Europe. The company offers different tariff types for different customer groups, prepaid tariffs, subscription-based discounting, flat rates, or 50% price reductions. We have typically revenue sharing with other operating companies like bus companies, local taxis, or railways operating in different other countries. This is a daily work for a railway industry, that they have a revenue sharing between different participating networks. For example, usage is represented by a journey from point A to point B. For example, if you travel from Amsterdam to Zurich, you have a shared constellation where you travel through different countries, and you have to share between different operators. This is another very typical example for the BRIM solution, that with a shared business, we have the possibility to share between different platform operators. Now I would like to introduce our training example. I have decided that we use for the whole curriculum the same story. We use a cloud selection service. And in this cloud selection service, we have technically different services that we offer to the customer in our product. We have the usage of CPU, RAM, and bandwidth. And I decided that we use here different price models. You are able to select a different service level. The service level pay as you go has different prices than silver, gold, and platinum. We are using here a configurable price, a configurable product with different prices depending on the service levels in order to have an example in the training landscape that is complex enough to show the features in the different modules. And on the other way, SAP we are our own customer, and we are using it as well in order to collect to have our customers with cloud services on BRIM. So this is a very typical example. It's also typical because it has different components. It has a subscription component because you have to pay a basic fee, and you have a consumption component. That means we have consumption-related prices. We also have contract-related fees like the activation fee if you start with a contract, and you also have fees and changes. We have installed in the training example some change processes. For example, if you want to change your service level agreement, we have to implement change processes according to the subscription contracts. So we use here the training example. It is set up in the system with a bundle product type in order to show a lot of features here in the training landscape. And we use this example also to show all processes. That means if you are a participant of the AC230, you start with a subscription contract, or you start before with a subscription order, you configure your cloud selection service, then you submit the order and you get a subscription contract. The next step is then that we have a view on the price models that are realized in convergent charging. Or we analyze how the rating processes can be run with convergent charging. And then you are also doing the rating, billing, and invoicing processes in convergent invoicing.
Okay, I still see the slide business example, cloud service provider.
Yeah, it's correct. Yeah,
okay, okay, sorry, yeah.
Yeah,
thanks.
I just want to explain the processes that we have there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so we use this example and run through the whole processes, also billing and invoicing, and then we have also the open items in FICA. Is it more reasonable? Yeah, I can also switch to the next slide. And we end with the accounting processes. So that means all 14 exercises use this example, and we run through the whole process. We can have now a look on the complete solution landscape. Just to give you an overview, what is covered by BRIM. We have the subscription and order management processes, where we then implement our training example with a bundle product, the product catalog, and as I reported before, we have an order capture process for a cloud selection service. We have the order distribution and the contract management, and also the change processes if you, for example, want to change the service level of your contract. We have convergent mediation. Convergent mediation is a partner product. That is the reason why we only have slides, but we show in the training the processes that are handled by Digital Route. They also assisted with one chapter to the training. We have then the convergent charging component, where we have also an own training for convergent charging. We have the service pricing and moduling, where we show how to cover the recurring charges and the consumption fees in convergent charging. We have online and offline rating for convergent charging and partner pricing modules. In convergent invoicing, then we have the billing plans that are able to create recurring fees. We have the processes convergent billing in invoicing for different components, for one-offs, for recurring charges and usages. You can also have different other rating systems in place that deliver billable items to convergent invoicing. We have then prepaid and postpaid subscriptions, partner revenues. What is also important for B2B is to have complex discounts in place, billing cycle handling, and also for B2B, we have master agreements. And what is important in the whole architecture that, for example, is the re-rating process. Especially assume you're in the telecommunication industry and we have cumulated pricing modules. It's important that if you have late entries, it's possible to do a re-rating. Also for maybe price changes that are not in time in the system, it might be necessary to do re-rating processes. This is possible with a BRIM architecture. Of course, you need to implement and configure the re-rating process, but it's often important to do this, to plan this in the projects. And we also show the re-rating process. Then we have document presentments by OpenText. OpenText is also a partner product. We are using the customer financial management, where we have for FICA as well mass processes and individual processes that you can handle in the financial customer care, the individual processes if payments need to be assigned to open items. Okay, that's an overview of the solution landscape. Now I show you one of the process slides. It's important for me that people get a feeling for the terminology and that they are able to assign the processes to the different components. And therefore, I have set up a system of process descriptions. This is one example that we use in the material. We have these type of slides for all fundamental features to show where the objects are assigned and how the process runs from one component to the other component. For example, we start here with the CRM. It is a provider in contract management with a change to the S4SOM. It's now the subscription contract management, but the process is still the same. We start with a provider or subscription order, and we have the product in the provider order. The one-time fees are then normally directly sent to the convergent invoicing. We have, for example, activations fees that are sent directly from the subscription order or provider order to the billing and invoicing. It's possible to use consumption items. We also explain in the training when it's reasonable to use consumption items. For some architectures, for example, for utilities, which already receive rated items, it's sometimes not necessary to use consumption items. That means convergent invoicing is flexible there. You either start with a starting point of the billable items, that is the description here, or if you want to use a re-rating started from convergent invoicing, or if you want to aggregate the consumption before rating, it's reasonable to introduce consumption items. I think in most architectures, we are going the way with consumption items, then we would have one level more in this architecture. So the next step then is a convergent charging. After the submit of the provider order, the subscription and provider contract is distributed to convergent invoicing and to convergent charging. And we have the provider and subscription contracts then in both. From the process side, we are able to create recurring charges in convergent charging, or also, which is a newer feature, in convergent invoicing. We also have usage charges here. They are created with the trigger of usage data records. So the whole product overview in the BRIM solution is then that we have recurring fees, we have usage fees, we can have activation fees, we can have different other rating systems that deliver billable items to convergent invoicing. This is a very open architecture where we are able to add different other rating systems. So we have usage fees coming from other rating systems, or service fees coming from other rating systems, or also contract fees. In convergent invoicing, we have then 2 days step to aggregate the volumes of billable items. We have the first aggregation step, which is a billing aggregation, and when the next step is then the invoicing. So that is a reason why we have here different documents, the billing document and the invoicing document. With the invoicing document, we then are able to produce an invoice for the customer, which can have different levels. We can have the level of the single billable items, and we can add an itemized bill there, which shows all details, or we can also have different aggregation levels. With the creation of the invoice document, we as well create the FICA documents, which are relevant to create open items on the contract account balance. And the next step is then to receive payments and to do an aggregation for the general ledger. So to be honest, the general ledger is missing here. And in our training, we are going through all steps of these processes, also including the closement of the reconciliation key and the step into the general ledger. So with 14 exercises, you get an overview about the whole process, added with such types of process descriptions. Okay. I would like to go now a bit deeper to the convergent invoicing module, because this is just an example that I used. In the convergent invoicing, we have the possibility to store consumption items or to store billable items. This is a very strong feature because we are able to customize the whole storage for the consumption items and the billable items. We have different interface components in place that you can, where each interface components includes a set of fields. And we also have the very tricky storage of billable items depending on the status. If they are billable but not billed, they are moved to different databases, because then the process of billing is has a higher speed if only the billable items are stored in the correct databases. So you are able, just with customizing, to generate bid classes and SID classes depending on different business cases and different processes that you want to cover. And you are high flexible also to generate database tables. This is also possible in a customized way for the industry-specific processes, because you are easily able to add, with the help of customer includes, customer fields to the general class structures. So with customer fields or industry-specific fields, with customer includes, you are able to design your data storage of consumption item classes and billable item classes as you want. With a rating process, as is possible, we are the consumption item. We are triggering the rating process integrated with the convergent charging. The rating with more complex price models is normally done with the convergent charging system. For all details, we then have separate trainings. We have a separate training which is on 1909 for the subscription order management. We have a separate training for the convergent charging training, which is updated at the moment and will be delivered at the end of the year. We have a separate training for the convergent invoicing topics, where you learn how to customize, for example, bid and sit classes. This is AC245. And we also have a separate training for the FICA component, which is AC240. We have all this summarized in the learning journey, in the learning room, and all trainings are also available in the learning room, but we also have classroom trainings for this. With flexible rules for billing and billable items and also for invoicing, you are able to design this as you need. Convergent invoicing is more or less industry independent and can be designed as necessary, because for utilities you have different constructions in invoicing. You have for some services it's necessary to use deferred rating. So it depends what you need for your industry, but it's possible to configure all this with convergent invoicing, very flexible. In the end, I have an overview about the objects. For me, it's important that during the training, you learn to understand the terminology. That means we have orders, change orders. We try to understand in the training the shared master data model, because it's important to understand in the architecture how you want to use the master data. We are speaking about the business partners and accounts. The business agreements are now outdated. We are only using the contract accounts anymore. We are speaking about the subscription contract and the distribution in the BRIM landscape. And we are also speaking about the products, like products bundles. We are speaking about the configurations, the setup of the configuration, about different bill conditions. We are speaking about price modeling and also about technical objects. Technical objects are relevant in consumption services, because you need to identify, with the help of the technical usage data, which subscription contract is relevant. For example, it could be an IP address that is related to a CPU usage, and you want to assign the contract. That means you need then in the convergent charging an access. We are discussing what is a commercial product and what belongs to a charge plan, in order to understand the basic terminology for price modeling. And in the end, you should be able to understand also in a project which modeling of the complete process is assigned to which component. If we have events, we have normally chargeable items that are assigned to the charge plan. After the usage, we receive then charged items that already have a price. The charged items of the convergent charging are mapped to the billable items. We also have the topic of the billable item management and the consumption item management. That means you design the process starting from the convergent invoicing and have an integrated model where it's possible to reuse the field structures in the convergent charging that are created in the convergent invoicing. We speak about an example process of billing and invoicing, and we have debit and credit postings. And also the assignment to the general ledger. Okay, that's an overview of the data model in BRIM. I hope that the key learnings are reached if you have done the AC230. So my expectation would be that you get an understanding of the processing in SAP, billing and revenue innovation management in BRIM, that you have an get an architectural overview about CRM provider management, convergent charging, convergent invoicing, and convergent mediation and financial contract accounting. We use in our training different industries like high-tech, postal, and telecommunication to have different use cases in mind if you're if we are discussing the processes, and you should be able to describe how customer processes and B2B processes for subscription billing are enhanced. That would be the idea, what I think, what the key learnings of the AC230 are. Okay, that's all from my side. What I didn't know, Cornelis, if there are any questions or if we shall maybe have a look to the cost structure.
In the chat there are no questions, but if somebody wants to ask a question on this, then please feel free.
Yeah, hi, it's Mike Curl here. I guess I've been sort of tracking and sort of aware of the product since the High Deal acquisition. And it always used to be sort of, you know, a separate component. So have I understood correctly now that it's really sort of, it's an integral part of S/4HANA, it's just licensed separately, is that correct?
Oh, I'm not sure. You mean the convergent charging?
Yes, yeah, the functionality that we're looking at here, is it, you know, is it free as part of S/4HANA or is it a separate license cost, I guess?
To be honest, I'm not involved in license selling, but as far as I know, it's integrated in a BRIM license.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so it's technically integrated it's technically integrated because you are able to design the process starting from the convention invoicing, and you are able to use already integrated interfaces.
Okay, so there's no sort of separate server install for BRIM. It's a core part of S/4HANA these days.
Yeah, convergent charging also can run on S/4HANA.
Great. Okay.
And as far as I know, according to the license, it's completely integrated in the BRIM license. But
yeah,
I'm not,
okay, that's
yeah.
that's fine. It just makes it a lot easier
So
for customers.
we also see it as a BRIM solution.
Yeah. Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, and since the beginning of the mid of this year, the BRIM on-prem product family has been extended with the BRIM cloud solutions,
right.
like subscription billing and entitlement management, which used to be part of CX, but are now from a product management point of view also part of BRIM solution.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah, and subscription billing is, for example, very useful for more simple processes where you don't have so many customer fields or not so complex processes according to accumulate pricing and so on. So I try to use here in the training examples that are complex enough that it's absolutely necessary to use BRIM.
Right.
Of course, there are more simple processes like a fitness studio where you have only a very simple price model.
Yes.
And there it could be more reasonable to use cloud products. But if you have a complex price model in like in a parcel industry, it's reasonable because you have so many attributes to use BRIM. So of course there are maybe use cases there are in between. Then it's often a question if the customer wants to scale in complexity or scale in volume. And then it might be more reasonable to go to the BRIM on-prem if you want to scale, if it's, for example, clear that the price model will be simple over the whole time, like a fitness studio. If you say, oh, I stay at a monthly fee, then it's maybe not necessary to use the BRIM on-prem solution. Then it might be reasonable to use a subscription billing solution.
Right.
Is there a training for the subscription billing?
Yes. Yes. On the learning room, we have a subscription billing training, and I think we are also preparing classroom trainings.
Yeah,
there is a one-day training for subscription billings. I think, Cornelis, it was launched
last week,
in June?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Billing to subscription billing, the one-day instructor-led training is there. Yeah. Also based on a training landscape, and in addition, there is an entitlement management, a 2-day entitlement management course in place. Also since 2 months, something like that.
Okay, thank you.
The subscription billing you're talking about is part of C4HANA solution, right?
It used to be. There always was a strong focus on front end. That's why subscription billing was part of C4HANA or CX customer experience. Now the focus is more strongly on backend integration. That's why there is more a move towards BRIM, towards the BRIM solution portfolio.
Okay.
That's where the stronger developments take place. We have, by the way, we have several of these sessions. Also, there was an extensive session on subscription billing last week, and we will add all these recordings to the learning journey, to the BRIM learning journey. That would make it easier for you to also consume these webinars. Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, if there are no more questions, I say thank you for participation and enjoy the material and the solution, and maybe we will meet in another session.
Okay.
Thank you
very much, Elke.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I know.
Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.